to shine. Give 'em what you got, baby. Time to show them you are. It's time to shine. Gotta give 'em what you got. Gotta show 'em you
What's up, y'all? We are back. We are the Six Chicks, and you are listening to our weekly podcast where we bring you curated, authentic, Christ-centered realness in every conversation, point blank and period.
The period.
I'm just saying. So, listen, last week we talked about defining womanhood, and that is really our series for the next few episodes. And we had a really heartfelt, great conversation, a lot of honesty centered around how, who, what, when, where, and why we believe, the women that we are today. And, it was very enlightening. I think that a lot of harsh realities came out, but most of all, towards the end, of course, we gave you all some tips on how to process through your journey as a woman. And one of those tips was talking about loving yourself, which is what this episode is all about. And I'm really excited to dive into this because a lot of times as women, we are so multi-talented, multifaceted that we don't always take time out to love ourselves. And so I'm learning the older that I get that loving me makes me a better Tiffany, like, period. Like, and so creating time and space to love on me outside of who I am and what I do is essential. So let's get on into it, ladies.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk about it. Let's like talk about what it means to really love yourself. Like, what does that look like for you? Like, truly loving the woman that you are, just the good, the bad, the ugly, the in between. What does that look like to you?
So I will say, I have always thought that loving myself was just being like the best version of me.
Mm,
And I will take my work ethic, for example. I just thought if I was just on point at work, if my work ethic was like, on top, doing my job, doing the best that I could for the companies that I work with, that would be loving myself because, I'm doing some great things. And over the years, like we talked about at the last episode, the harsh realities started to just really open my eyes that I was loving my companies that I was working for way more than I was loving myself
wow.
and what I was doing. And it was,
Wow.
when I say it was a harsh reality, because I didn't even understand how I was supposed to change that because all of my life I've always told myself, you got to be the best. You got to do the best. You got to be the best. You got to be number one. And all that time I was putting them before myself. So in saying that, I think I just self-love for me now is putting my vision and my abilities within myself, things that I see me doing ahead of what I'm doing for other companies and for other jobs and for other people. It's like I
Yeah.
can be that top, I can be that greatness, but I have to be that greatness for me first. And then everything will fall from there. And that was huge. That's self-love, putting me first, not everything else.
I love that, Vic, because so many times as women, we are taught like early on, like in as we're little kids, as a child, to nurture others, to give to others, to pour in. And that is so key. We have to put ourselves first. And it's okay. Like, it's not a bad thing. We don't have to feel bad about putting ourselves first. That is so good.
It's it's so true how we make ourselves fit into that mold when it is so not. And let me be clear. Like I have continually been in spaces with people's with people, careers, family members where it was just not good. It was just, it did not feel good. I did not feel any sense of love from those spaces, but yet I remained in those spaces,
Yeah.
variety of reasons. And what it all boiled, and not even just those spaces, just situations, not speaking up for myself, all kinds of things. And what it all boiled down to is that I wasn't loving me. I was
Mm.
allowed, I was being outwardly drawn, right? So everything was about the exterior as opposed to like, and I thought I was doing right by myself, but I just hit a wall, y'all, and was like, so I'm not doing any of that anymore because it don't feel
Right.
good. And I'm still a good person and all of that. And if you want to judge me or you want to put me in a box because I'm not doing everything that I did before that you didn't appreciate, I will go get the box for you. That's how I feel. Like I will go grab the box. Like legit. I will I'll actually just come in the door with the box because I'm not doing it anymore, you know. So because it's like it was just saying you don't love yourself. And you got to get better at that. So
Yeah, I think that's like so key. Like the key to really loving yourself is being, for me, is being like kind to myself. And like what Angela said is so true of like waiting for other people to validate you when it's like you can really say these wonderful things to yourself. You know, just speaking highly of myself, thinking highly of myself has really helped me on my journey as I continue to learn how to love myself. Because I think that, you know, for so long I was just so critical of myself, of how I looked, of how tall I was, of oh, who are my friends? What do I have? What kind of clothes do I have? What job do I do? What, you know, all of those things. What degree do I have? Like everything I was critical of. And then I just had to like really sit down and really think about that. Like, wait a minute, you the bomb though. Like you did X, Y, and Z. You know, you go here, you got this degree, you went here, blah, blah, blah. Like I really had to shut myself up because it was really those inner thoughts. And I really had to start speaking nicely to myself, like literally speaking nicely to myself. Like, you look good, girl. You know, as I'm getting ready, okay. I see you, you know, like really taking that time to toot my own horn, at least to myself, you know. I,
Right.
that's really been the biggest thing for me.
And let me quickly say this, Ife. That's exactly what you meant, I believe, when you said being present. That's what being present. That's being present for yourself.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
Seriously.
very true. And for me, um, it would be just forgiving myself and not trying
Mm.
to be perfect. Because
Mm.
all my life, I've always felt like I had to be perfect, even as a child, because I was always told, oh, you're such a good little girl. You always do everything right. And, you know, I always felt like I had to live up to this expectation that I knew I couldn't feel. So then when I didn't get it right, when I didn't do things right, then I felt horrible and I beat myself up
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, just went through a lot of changes for no reason. Now I'm just like, you know what? I have issues. And when people tell me about my issues, I'm like, yeah, girl, I got to work on that, you know, and I move on because I realize I can't be perfect. And it's too much work trying to be perfect. And then you're not real. And also, everyone has issues with an S. So you're not the only one. You're
you're
not the
not
only
the only
one.
one.
Right.
Yeah.
So your issues may not be my issues, but we all have them. And I just have to be like, you know what? Yeah. And of course, I always strive to do better. And I always do. But I'm like, I'm okay if I get something wrong because it's a lot of work trying to be perfect. That's hard. And I'm tired, sweating. I'm not doing that. That's too
There's a
much.
lot of work trying to be perfect. It is a lot of work trying to be perfect. I mean, it's exhausting. It's like being black, you know?
Right.
It's
Okay.
exhausting. So just let it go. We can't let go of being black, except for you, Vic. You can. Well, no, you can't. No, just be quiet. Sorry, guys.
That's so funny though, but that's true though. Like it's just, and that is so good, Lisa. Like when you said that, I was like, oh, I was doing that too. Like I was trying to be perfect. I was trying to live up to expectations, which in turn, it's not loving yourself. It's not allowing yourself, just the space to be. And I know for me, like loving myself now, like is just being able to be in a space where I'm completely woke about who Tiffany is. Like, and I'm completely okay and allowing myself to walk away from people, situations, and things that don't serve me immediately with no explanation. Like, period. Hey, this ain't working for me. I'm out. Because in the past, no, for real, like, is this really working for me? Is this really beneficial to who I am, where I'm going? Like, is this really working? And for me in the past, I've had a lot of situations and relationships, whether it's, intimate relationships, whether it's professional, I mean, with organizations that were unhealthy for me. And it was a form of abuse that I was allowing because I wasn't loving myself. And I think that people don't realize when you stay in things that are not working for you, you are now contributing to the abuse that you're experiencing, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, like spiritual. I mean, all the above. Like, and to love yourself takes bravery. Like, you have to be brave enough to say, hey, y'all are horrible. I'm out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
period. Like,
Yep. Or
it's
really,
not
the experience is horrible. Because
exactly.
whether they know they're being horrible or not, in some of those instances, those people don't even realize they're being horrible.
That's the
But
truth.
your experience is just not meshing with your what you should be receiving for yourself.
Yep.
Some people are fine with it,
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
but it's about you knowing
Mhm.
what it is for you. What's that love? What's that non-abuse action
Right.
toward you? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, and I was in a relationship years before I was married, but I was in a relationship where he treated me like crap, but I just felt like this is who I want to be with, this is who I want to marry. But I mean, it was a bad relationship. And so finally got away from it. He pretty much pushed me out of it because I just was trying to hang on as much as I could, holding on to a dream of what I thought we could have been. And then years later, he came back and apologized for everything he did. And I was like, yeah, I appreciate it, but it's not necessary because I allowed you to do that. So it's my fault. It's my fault for not loving myself. I allowed that. So,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I was just thinking about what Tiffany said when she was saying, letting go of situations that don't serve you and like where I'm going. I think the main thing is like remembering like, okay, me here as a woman on this earth, I have a purpose. And knowing that you may not know what the end game is, but you can tell when something is hindering your purpose. Like
Mhm.
you can feel that like, okay, this situation right here is not taking me to the next level. So I have to cut this off. And I love myself enough. I love God enough to cut this off here. Like you said, before it gets abusive or if it has become abusive. Okay, this is enough. This is not where I need to be. And moving forward and loving yourself enough to do that. But like you said, bravery is, ooh, that was a word.
Mhm. Mhm.
Seriously.
Bravery. Bravery doesn't always feel good.
No,
Wow.
It
no.
doesn't always feel good,
No.
but it's well worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
thought about just of course I'm agreeing with everyone as most times, but just the idea of like what is it to take care? Like taking care is like
Mm.
an ongoing thing. It's like I have to continuously decide um, how to love myself, that I will love myself in whatever the situation is. And so I think that's something that I'm learning too. Like it's not like I made that one decision and now I'm straight, moving forward. But it's like I have to continually like make a decision to take care, like taking in action, taking care. And That's the main thing I pull from it. And just going off of like the bravery, also like with loving yourself being equated to respecting myself and then requiring others to do the same. And so I think that second part of requiring others and like putting expectations on others, like well, I won't say we're, but I feel as though like I always hear the messages of like lowering your expectations of people so that you don't get, disappointed or let down. But it's like to a certain degree, like you have to get over yourself a little bit. Like if people don't like, there should be a baseline expectation of like respect and love. And so it is okay to like have that requirement, and it's okay for people to not meet it. It's more so about what you do in response to that, because that's all we can really control, right? Is like what we do in response to whoever does what. And so yeah, I think that's my main insight from that part. It's just like the taking care, like the inaction presence. Kind of what Ife was talking about a little bit earlier, but yeah.
That's a whole word. Let's just pause for that. The taking care, and that loving yourself is a daily active choice that you have to make. Like that was so good, Courtney. I was like,
thank you, girl.
Like that is so good because that is so true. Like I was sitting here thinking, like, man, I need to ask myself, hey, are you loving yourself today? Like, you know what I'm saying? Having those moments, like, because I don't ask myself that question currently, that right now, but I need to start. Like, hey, make sure that you're loving yourself today. Checking in, like, was that love or was that something else? Like, because that's a part of the taking care, right? And I think that we just don't look at it like that. And that whole other piece about the requirement and the expectation, I personally feel like, and this is a very general statement, but I don't mean it generally, but I do feel like that some women have lowered the standards too much across all fronts, including loving ourselves. And so we have to put in place certain expectations and requirements for others to be in our space, and how close they are and how far they are and what that looks like. Either you're going to be backstage or you're going to be in the balcony. But either you got a front row seat or you're going to just watch from afar. You know what I mean? But that too is a part of knowing and loving yourself enough to take that daily account in our relationships.
Yeah, I like that. Taking account. Like that's a whole thing too. Whether it's writing it down or like in your mind, but like I think it's probably like that reflective piece of like giving yourself the space and like respecting yourself enough to like respect your thoughts and your feelings and express that or outlet that some way through writing or through saying something. But yeah, I think that's another hurdle a lot of us deal with. It's like figuring out ways to like outlet, like let out whatever. Yeah.
I think it's good too, because when we show other people our baseline or our standard that we will not allow them to go under, there are so many people out there that don't even have a baseline. They don't even know what it is, or they may not even realize that that they don't have a baseline. And I think when we do that, because everybody is watching in some way or another, and it'll help others, think about it. Oh, well, you know what? I see how she treats herself. I see what she's doing. And I think it'll help others get, bring their levels up, bring their baseline up, see something different.
Vic, you are so right. And I didn't even want to say nothing, but and people will speak to you and say that. Like someone has spoken to me and said, you have inspired me of how you don't allow this one action that's been told to me, and it's just like, it's just so cool to see somebody, your age be like this. So you're right. They're watching.
Yeah.
And they like when people have a standard.
Yeah. And it's also proof of like, you can have your baseline standards without imposing or
Mm.
encroaching in someone else's space. Like you can still, I think it goes back to maybe that bravery aspect we talked about, Vic, of like just being who you are. And it's like when that's done sincerely, it's not encroaching or being overbearing over someone else. It's more so if someone does take that way, it's more so maybe their insecurities at the moment. But for the most part, when people come back and like notice, it's really just people. When you are yourself, it's just noticeable. It stands out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When you are, go ahead, Ife.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like exactly what Courtney said. Like people who can't, handle you being you, that's more of their problem than your problem. And I'm learning that like you shouldn't, downplay yourself to make other people comforted in their insecurities. Cause that's really what it boils down to. It's like they don't want you to be, out here with it because they don't want to be out there with it. But it's like if that's what you're comfortable doing, and that's what you're comfortable doing. And so you want to be who you are regardless. And that takes bravery and loving yourself to do that. But it's so true. Like people will be insecure about who you are, you know?
For sure. I think that we've already kind of started talking about it a little bit, but I want to explore it a little bit more about like what are some tips or some advice that we could give to women about beginning the process of loving yourself. And it's so many things that we could say, right? But I want us to really think of some practical, like tangible things that we could share with women. I know for me, just like even in this moment, like legit, I'm going to add to my list, checking in with myself and asking myself, are you loving yourself today? Like that's legit on my list, like moving forward, because I don't do that. And that's just such a powerful question. And it's such for me, like even right now, I feel so affirmed to know that I care enough about myself to ask thine own self that question. You know what I mean? Like not waiting for someone else to make me feel like that makes me happy to know, like, oh, I'm about to add that question to my daily routine. Like that makes me happy. You know what I'm saying? And so that would be something that I would say is figure out a way to affirm and or check in with yourself to see it, to pretty much say, are you loving yourself today?
I'd say don't shrink back. And
Yeah.
that's kind of piggybacking off of what Ife just said um, about, because other people's insecurities can be imposed on you. So then you'll shrink back because you're trying to make them feel like comfortable or secure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I would just say don't shrink back and realize that, in you doing that, you're actually abusing yourself. I mean, there are moments when, you want to curve. I want to be very clear. I'm not talking about tact and being rude. If a person is rude and
Right.
disrespectful, um, I'm not saying you should be like, oh, you just insecure, so I'm gonna be
Right.
ignorant.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because people will wonder, right?
Yeah.
So I want to make that clear because, I'm just saying your best you and someone having you being your best you and someone having major issues with your best you. When you're
Mhm.
operating in your higher self.
Sure.
You gotta trust yourself. You gotta trust yourself and not shrink back. You gotta,
Mm.
and it takes some time to get to that space because
Yeah.
a lot of people have a lot of insecurities, and that's what makes our space safe. Because we all can be who we are here in this space, and we
Mhm.
can push each other to be who we are in this space. You know, because we are so used to shrinking back for those who are insecure. And maybe not just those who are insecure, but just shrinking back for a variety of reasons. I don't want to just make it about other people, but just shrinking back. So I just say that was supposed to be a quick one, but don't shrink back.
No, it's not good.
Yeah.
And that goes to just being unapologetically you. And
Yeah.
in saying that, not, the bad parts of you that you know you need to fix, that's something different. But who you are to the core, like who God created you to be, don't apologize for it. And like Angela said, don't back down from that. Even though you do have things you always have to work on, and that's fine. But just be unapologetic about it, and being comfortable with that. Although that's not even my response. My response is forgive yourself. And that has been one of the things for me, like decisions I've made in the past, directions I've taken that haven't always been the best. Just learning how to forgive myself has always put me over the hump to be able to love myself. Because when I can accept what I did, but know, like, yeah, I made that decision. It wasn't the best decision, but I've learned from it and I can move on. So, forgiveness is always key. Forgive yourself, forgiving other people, but just having forgiveness in your heart. Because if you don't, then you'll just walk around, you'll be angry. And then that creates a person that you don't want to be as well, just not being able to forgive yourself. And you often take it out on other people, just directing things, to other people that they don't deserve because you are happy with yourself and the decisions you made. Because you can always turn things around, things can always be changed. But just being comfortable in that, like, yeah, that was pretty dumb, but I learned something and I know I'll never do it again. So moving on from that.
Yeah, that's really good, Lisa. For me, when I think about my little tip, I would say is like talk to yourself nice. That's really, speak to yourself nice. Eliminate those negative thoughts when you look in the mirror and you getting ready, those thoughts that creep in like get rid of those thoughts. I mean, I really have seen a difference within myself of just kind of like talking to myself better and just being like and affirming myself. Like if I want to look a certain way or if I feel like I look a certain way, I'm gonna tell myself like, oh, great, looking like Meg Stallion today. You're looking good today, girl. I like the outfit on you, girl. And then just talking to myself like, you look good, Ife. Saying my name, like speaking to myself literally in the mirror and affirming myself when I get ready makes me feel better when I go out and I, go out in public and I walk around. I don't really look at what other people look at or if they're looking at me or anything because I already know I look good because I already told myself that before I left the house. So I would say speak to yourself nice. Give yourself kind words every day.
I love it.
I would say to those who are like trying to begin the process of loving themselves is to check your space. Check. Do it in a safe, and this is something I'm still doing myself, so I'm not speaking on a pedestal with it, but do it in a safe yet honest company or space of people. And so I just like to hone on like safe and honest. Like if you look around and everyone's always agreeing with you and always, or people like tighten up when you get around, you might be that insecure friend, like you may be. I think we all like go in and out of insecurities or moments of insecurity. And so checking your space, see if you like are like breeding an atmosphere of enablers around you, like everyone, or you built this atmosphere where no one can tell you anything, like that type of safe and honest space. So it's kind of like the flip side of, being around people. Of course, you want your sisters or your friends to encourage you and be with you and push you forward. But that also comes with accountability and, trusting someone enough to give you an honest like feedback or critique. And I think that's something that's important to also check in on when you're starting to think about the process of loving yourself, like checking your space, checking your environment, checking those that you spend time around and seeing how you fit with those people and how they fit with you. I think is super important.
Yeah, and I would say, especially, and this is just something that I'm actually doing right now. Every couple of days, I look back at the thing that I have put the most energy in, the thing that I'm either known for or that I do all the time. And again, that I put the most energy in. And then I sit back while I'm writing and journaling and I ask myself, did I put that much energy into what I believe in? Did I put that much energy this week into my dream or my vision or what I'm seeing? Or did I put more into somebody else's dream and somebody else's vision? And then I truthfully answer it, yay or nay, and then I change it up and go from there. And sometimes it's hard. And sometimes I continue to do the same thing week after week. But I've noticed every time I come back and ask that same question, the more I think of it throughout the week and the more it helps me. So I would definitely say always like even like you said, check your space. That's it's you can use that word on so many different lanes. It's definitely a good word. But yep, that and like I said, that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Listen, yeah, I don't want to stop. This is so amazing. Like, I know for sure that people that are listening are getting aha moments and the light bulbs are going off, but we want to hear from you. Like, we want to hear like how are you or how are you going to commit to loving yourself, of taking care of yourself. And so you're gonna have to DM us, like contact us, email us, like all the above. So Ife, let them know how they can connect with us.
Yes. So, like Tiffany said, we would love for you to connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter at B6Chicks. Then we definitely want you to go and like and subscribe our YouTube channel, which is the Six Chicks Podcast. We love you all, and we are so thankful that you came and joined us today. So make sure you tune in next week where we talk about after loving ourselves while we begin to talk about pursuing purpose. So again, we love you all. And remember,
It's time to shine. Give 'em what you got, baby.